Hey everybody, Fox with FoxeoGames, and let's talk about Bloodborne patch number 1.04. As of the upload of this video, it has gone live today, but you have to check the video upload date if you're coming here from the future. And as of the upload of this video, I can't find an official translation from Sony or from Software. So I just looked up the Japanese notes, and then I also went to www.dualshockers.com where they did a translation of the patch notes, and the translation is really good. So it's quite reliable from what I can tell. I haven't tested and read through and tested every single line because some of these things aren't so important to me. But the important lines that I thought were valuable for us, all the translations are rock solid. But basically in 1.04 there are some significant changes. There are some things that didn't change that I wish had, but we'll get to that in a moment. First of all, it says that you can use password matching to match with anyone regardless of the level and regardless of their oath. So before they used to separate you if you had oaths that were hostile to each other or if you were outside of a level range. So as far as I can tell, and I haven't tested this myself, you can match with anyone using password matching. That does, I don't know, that seems to be strange to me because why would they let you match, say, a level 90 with a level 10 just because of the password? But whatever, I mean, people can test that out and see if that's actually what's happening. Also, I mentioned in my review of Bloodborne how ridiculously stupid I thought it was that one of the Insight stores near the Hunter Stream building, the workshop, required that you have 10 Insight, and anytime you fell below 10 Insight, they would disappear and you couldn't access it anymore. I thought that was ridiculous, and apparently From Software realized I was right. I don't know if they watched my review, probably not. They probably figured it out on their own, hopefully. But basically, as long as you have one or more Insight, the messenger bath will appear, and then it will stay available for the rest of the game, even if you drop to 0 Insight. So you no longer have to have 10 Insight, which was ridiculous, because you go in there with, say, 15 Insight, start buying stuff, then you'd walk away, then you'd be like, oh wait, let me go buy something else, and then suddenly they're gone. And there was nothing I could tell in the game to indicate to you when these bath messengers appeared, so I would have been totally clueless that I needed 10 Insight unless, someone else told me over the internet. Now here's one of the more significant things, and something I think is really awesome. You can now have, instead of 99, you can have up to 600 blood vials and quicksilver bullets in the storage. Not on your person, in storage. So what that means is, as you progress through the game, if you don't go out of your way to buy or farm them, you'll probably never hit maximum in storage, assuming that you're using blood vials as you progress through the game. Then, once you get later in the game, you can farm up some souls and just buy a ton of these and max out at 600, and then you're good to go for PvP purposes for a long time. So it's very good that they allow us to put more in storage. Why 600? I don't know. I think it's obvious that 999 would have been a better number and a more reasonable number. But whatever, we know From Software is not, I'll be honest with you, I don't mean to be insulting, but From Software is not the most competent and reasonable game developer out there. They've provably done some pretty stupid stuff and left some pretty obvious flaws in their games unnecessarily. So I think they do have some competency issues when it comes to game design, and it's a shame because they are in control of, in my opinion, one of the best games of all time, Dark Souls, and then also Demon Souls, Bloodborne, and Dark Souls 2. But anyway, there are some changes to Beasthood. Apparently it increased. There were some changes to some of the weapons. Apparently they reduced the stamina for the Logarius Wheel and Kirkhammer, which I actually kind of agree with that. They took too much stamina and you ran out of attacks too quickly with those. It says it adjusted the strength of some enemies in some areas in New Game Plus, but doesn't specify whether it went up or down, as far as I can tell. I'm reading from the DualShockers translated notes, so correct me guys if the original Japanese is different, but as far as I could tell, it wasn't in the places where I compared it. They adjusted some resistances and a few other things, and also they like to do this. This is a thing Japanese developers do that US developers typically don't do as often. They love to hide big, significant changes in ambiguous single lines in their patch notes. For example, the bottom note says further tweaks and bug fixes, and basically various tweaks and bug fixes. And in certain cases, they'll hide something big and significant in there. Like last time, the fact that they changed the load screen to show item descriptions, I don't think they even included that in their patch notes. So there are a few other things that have changed. They've changed some stuff about the Chalice dungeons that, well, honestly doesn't really matter that much to me because I hate the Chalice dungeons, but supposedly there are more rewards now. You'll get bloodstone drops from the bosses, although it looks to be randomized instead of a guarantee. And one thing they fixed that kind of boggles my mind because they didn't fix another more obvious flaw, is they adjusted the brightness of the screen when finding a pool of blood echoes. You know, when you'd pick up some blood echoes and all of a sudden it would darken the screen and it would obscure your view? And oftentimes you're picking up your blood echoes right in the middle of a fight, because where did you die? You died where enemies were attacking you. So now you're running back to pick that up. Enemies are attacking you, possibly even a boss, and they felt it necessary to darken the screen and obscure your view. But they've left in the screen where if you try to pick up an item and you're maxed out on your person and your storage, it puts up a giant prompt in the middle of the screen, darkens the entire screen, and demands that you give input to remove this horrible obstruction. I'm going to argue, in my opinion, it's without question, that screen telling you that an item is full in storage, that is far more annoying and disruptive and obstructive than the message from the blood echoes. You pick up your blood echoes once in an area, maybe just once, sometimes. I mean, you can only die once to pick them up once. However, that message telling you that you're full on an item, you will see that over and over and over and over again ad nauseum. And every single time you try to pick something up that you're maxed out in, the entire screen will darken and a big giant prompt will appear in the center of the screen, completely obstructing your view. It will happen right in the middle of fights too. So why FromSoft didn't fix that far more obvious and far more annoying obstruction of view, but yet decided to adjust the brightness of the screen for the blood echoes? It boggles my mind, guys. It boggles my mind. Unfortunately, they did not give us an option to either get rid of entirely. They did not either get rid of or give us an option to turn off the 6-axis controls of the in-game gestures. So now, when you're hitting the X button to pick up an item and you move the controller ever so slightly, your character will accidentally do a gesture, which in many cases have gotten some of you killed, and me included, because you accidentally sit down in the middle of a boss fight, or you accidentally start waving in the middle of an intense fight, and that's all you need to get yourself killed. So unfortunately, they haven't fixed those glaringly huge, obviously, painfully clear problems with the game. But that is the nature of FromSoft. They'll fix one thing and leave another more obviously problematic thing untouched. And I don't mean to be offensive, guys. I'm just being honest. FromSoft is provably, objectively, one of the more incompetent developers when it comes to stuff like this. They seem totally clueless at times, and as if they have no idea what's wrong with their game or how reality works and how game development works. And it's strange considering that they've made the game that I consider to be my favorite game of all time. But such is the stark contrast and dichotomy that exists in my life. One of the most incompetent developers that doesn't know what it's doing is also in charge of one of my favorite franchises of all time. So it's kind of a scary prospect. It came through in Dark Souls 2. We saw all my concerns about them in Dark Souls 2. In Bloodborne, I wouldn't say it's 50-50, but there's an element of that kind of Dark Souls 2 level stupidity in Bloodborne, and you can see it sometimes in the patch notes, but at the same time, they're doing a much better job patching the game and working through these issues than the Dark Souls 2 team ever did or could ever do. So clearly, the team working on Bloodborne is more competent than the team working on Dark Souls 2. But then again, Dark Souls 2 exists, and that should be proof enough that the team working on Dark Souls 2 isn't that competent at all. I got off topic, guys, but what do you think of the Bloodborne patch 1.04? What did they fix that you really liked that they fixed or thought that really needed to be fixed? And what didn't they fix that you feel like they need to fix? List it in the comment section below, and I will see you guys next time.